Nestle has been in Sri Lanka for over 100 years. We have been committed to enhancing the lives of the local community since the very beginning. Today, we are Sri Lanka's largest private sector buyer of fresh milk. As we look at the smiling faces of thousands of dairy farming families, we know that we have kept the promise we made 30 years ago. Nestle, empowering Sri Lankan dairy farmers.
Good evening. It's the 10th of October 2014. This is Primetime News. I'm Sonali Wanigabaduge.
Hello, good evening and welcome. I'm Nadim Majid. Let's start off with a look at tonight's headlines.
An enjoining order issued to halt railway strike action. BSL calls for the monthly gazette notice pertaining to the deployment of armed forces to maintain law and order be halted. Cabinet approves the construction of the Northern Expressway. Malala Yousafzai and Indian child rights campaigner Kailash Satyarthi win the Nobel Peace Prize.
The Graded Railway Trade Unions Collective has decided to call off its strike action in line with the enjoining order issued by the Colombo District Court today. Speaking to Newsfirst earlier tonight, the collective's convener Janaka Fernando said that the railway sector's employees who were on strike will return to work at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Meanwhile, a senior officer at the Department of Railways says that the department has incurred a loss of around 36 million rupees as a result of the workers' strike action, which lasted nearly 2 days.
The court issued the enjoining order after considering a petition filed by 3 railway commuters before Colombo District Judge Sujata Alahaperuma. 26 railway workers' unions have been cited as respondents in this petition. After considering the submissions made, the court issued the enjoining order, which is effective until the 24th of this month, ordering that railway workers be allowed to carry out their service free of interference or obstruction. The judge also informed the respondent to appear in court on the 24th of this month. Almost 48 hours have lapsed since the strike action was launched by the Graded Railway Trade Union Collective. The Railways Department says that 380 train services are operated on a daily basis. 42 services operated this morning.
බස්වල යන්න විදියක් නැහැ. අපි එයාට ඊයේ යන්න ගියා. ඊයේ බස් එක පැය දෙකමාරක් ගියා කොළඹට යන්න. දැන් අද කීයට යන්න හම්බෙයිද දන්නේ නැහැ.
වර්ජනය අත්හැරලා හොඳ සේවයක් ලබා දෙන්න මාධ්‍යණයට. මොකද අපි දුක් මෙයන්සියලා අපි අම්බ කරන්න යන්නේ මේකෙන්මයි.
While 350,000 commuters use railway services on a daily basis, the loss of income for the Department of Railways has been estimated about 13 million rupees. The Railway Department noted that the cancellation of pre-bookings and cargo transportation has cost the department another 5 million rupees. Accordingly, the department has incurred a loss of about 36 million rupees over the past 2 days.
The Bar Association of Sri Lanka has requested that the monthly gazette notice issued by the President ordering the deployment of armed forces to maintain law and order be halted. The BASL notes that following the relaxation of emergency laws, the monthly gazette notice has been used to deploy armed forces personnel to maintain law and order.
With the termination of the emergency regulations, a new gazette has been promulgated, and this gazette has been extended monthly. And this gazette is promulgated under Section 12 of the Public Securities Ordinance. Section 12 specifically states that wherever there is a life endangering situation in a certain area, the Ministry of Defence is empowered to vest the police powers in one of the forces, Army, Navy or the Air Force. But as a result of this gazette that has been now promulgated, police powers have been vested in the Army, Navy and the Air Force applicable to the whole country.
Section 12 of the Public Security Ordinance states, quote, where circumstances endangering the public security in any area have arisen or are imminent and the President is of the opinion that the police are inadequate to deal with such situation in that area, he may, by order published in the Gazette, call out all or any of the members of the armed forces for the maintenance of public order in that area, unquote. As per the extraordinary Gazette notice, all armed forces personnel have been called upon to maintain law and order in all 25 districts of the island.
And this Gazette has been in force for more than a year, and as a result of that, there is a threat of militarization in the civil society in Sri Lanka. Now, it is under this Gazette that the army was drawn in Valivaria, which resulted with 3 innocent lives being taken away. And it has happened in many other instances as well. This is a serious situation.
Journalists quizzed Cabinet spokesperson Minister Kehele Ramukwala at the media briefing on Cabinet decisions held today on the extraordinary Gazette notice.
Cabinet spokesperson Minister Kehele Ramukwala has made a request not to turn incidents surrounding Dr. Chris Nonis into a diplomatic issue. The minister made this statement today in response to questions raised by journalists during the Cabinet media briefing.
Provincial Councillor Vasantha Samarasinghe, speaking to News First, said that the Foreign Secretary's husband had dealings with a company associated to the LTTE.
He has the right to pursue this matter legally. This statement wasn't made in Parliament, right? So he can pursue that matter legally.
පෞද්ගලික පුද්ගලයෙක්ගේ නිවසක පෞද්ගලික මිතුරන් කණ්ඩායමක් එක්කාසු වෙලා අවති වෙච්ච සාදයක ඇති වෙච්ච සිදුවීමක් සම්බන්ධවයි මේ කතාව. ඒ අදාළ
This issue arose during a private gathering of friends at a private residence. You said that the monitoring MP connected to the incident had commented that he was not involved in such an incident and that what took place was an argument. The secretary notes that it was a heated argument. The owner of the house states that he did not invite him as well. There are several such issues against his ambassador, so this issue should be considered in this light. Both sides have issued statements. Now this is up to the ministry.
මෙවැනි කරුණු ගණනාවක් එතන තියෙනවා. මේ වෙනකොට වාර්තාවන් දෙපැත්තෙන්ම මේ ස්ටේට්මන්ට්ස් එහෙම නැත්නම් ඒ වාර්තාවන් රෙකෝඩ් කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒක ඒ අමාත්‍යාංශයට අයිති රාජකාරියක් ඒ සම්බන්ධ කරන දින කවදාද අහවල් දවසට කියන්නේ මම එහෙම හේතුවක් නෑ අපිට.
Minister, the ambassador has already resigned. There must have been some sort of reason behind this.
Even you don't know it. He might know. I don't know about it. I didn't get a chance to talk to him about it and whether it was a big issue or a small issue.
Danja Tilaka and Tamara Kunanayaga made statements recently that there is a conspiracy in place where officials of the External Affairs Ministry are working against ambassadors and high commissioners that are performing well.
Those are their personal views. As a government, we take measures of the statements that are made and we will conduct internal inquiries on them.
That has been in our culture.
During the Sinhala New Year, we eat, make merry and then 2 or 3 people fight. I can state in a personal capacity, don't take an incident which happened at a private event and mix it up with diplomatic issues. It is not right.
Joining the Newsline program on News First, Chairman of the Intercompany Employees Union, Vasantha Samarasinghe, made a revelation about the Sri Lanka Foreign Service.
Chris Nonis මහත්තයාට පහර දුන්නාට පස්සේ ජනාධිපතිවරයාගේ නියෝජිතයා ඔහුට පහර දෙනවා පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රීවරයෙක්. ඔහුව ඉවත් කරනවා. අද වෙනකොට ඔහුගේ හිතවතිය සජින්වාස්
Chris Nonis, the president's representative, was assaulted by a parliamentarian. Was this parliamentarian removed? Foreign Secretary Shenuka is not saying that Sajin was intervened because she was unfairly accused. What is this relationship between them? It is serious. They are saying that there is an international conspiracy against the country and that it is being spearheaded by the Tamil diaspora. But are we aiding this conspiracy? Where are our best diplomats? Before Chris Nonis, there was Jayantha Dhanapala, Dan Chadhika and people like Tamara Kunanayagam. They represented the country in the international fora. Today, no one is there. Who represents the country today? People like Sajin Was and Shenuka. Why is this? These people are the stakeholders of this international conspiracy. We wish to ask Presidential Secretary Lalit Viratunga. In 2011, a delegation was dispatched to Geneva. This team inquired into construction work done on the embassy, and their report stated that the contract was given to a company affiliated with the LTTE. You received this report. The audit report also contains evidence that the airline tickets of all these diplomats were purchased through another company affiliated to the LTTE. Not only that, they gave the construction contract to a company in Zurich, which is around 300 kilometers away from Geneva.
These are serious allegations regarding the LTTE. Do you have proof of these allegations?
I challenge the government. I possess the audit report compiled by 2 senior members of the Ministry of Finance.
UPFA parliamentarian Professor Rajiva Vijayasinghe had this to say regarding the statement made by Vasantha Samarasinghe and the response offered by Minister K.L. Rambukwella.
And if it is correct that K.L. Rambukwella said that this is not a serious question, then I think he's turning the whole business of government into a joke. And I think if government doesn't understand that the country needs answers, I think the people deserve answers, and I'm very, very glad that the JVP brought this up. I have asked a question in Parliament about it, and I hope very much that we will get a clear answer that is based on truth, not on hiding things.
Now, JVP leader Anura Kumara Dissanayake once again tried to inquire into the incident in relation to former Sri Lanka High Commissioner to the UK, Dr. Chris Nonis, in Parliament today.
නියෝජ්‍ය කතානායකතුමා මම ඊයේත් බාර දුන්නා 23 ඊට පස්සේ ඒක മന്ത്രിවරයෙක් ගැන සඳහන් වෙනවා කියලා බෑ කිව්වා. ඊට පස්සේ මම නැවත ලබා දුන්නා ඒක සංශෝධනය කරලා. ඔව් ඒ පිළිබඳව නෑ මම අවසන්නේ පොඩ්ඩක් කලබල වෙන්න එපා. මම අහන්නේ ගරු නියෝජ්‍ය කතානායක තානාපතිවරයෙකුට ගහලා තියෙනවද ගැහුවේ කවුද ගැහුවේ කවදාද හේතු කව එච්චරයි. ඔබතුමාගේ දැන් මම හරි පැහැදිලි ලෙස අහන්නේ මේකේ මම ඇත්තටම දන්නේ නැහැ ගැහුවේ മന്ത്രിවරයෙක්ද කියලා. ඒ ඔබතුමාලා පූර්ව නිගමනයක ඉන්නවා මේ ගැහුවේ മന്ത്രിවරයෙක් කියලා. ඔබතුමාට අවශ්‍ය නම් සබ්ස්ටැන්ටිව් මෝෂන් එකක් මාර්ගයෙන් ඇසිය හැකි බවත් ඊයේ දිනේදී දැනුවත් කරනු ලැබුවා.
However, during the adjournment debate, the leader of the JVP strategically brought up the matter of the attack on Dr. Chris Nonis.
මේ සමෘද්ධිලාභී ජනතාවට අතිශය අහිතකර බදු එකතු කොට
What has happened to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which is being run using the excessive taxes imposed on the Samruddhi beneficiaries of the South? Presidential coordinating secretaries are attacking ambassadors. He acts as the chief representative of this country there. If another individual, another diplomat in fact, attacks such a person, then what sort of government would that be? Has this institution, which depends on the taxes of Samruddhi beneficiaries, provided the respect and protection that these people deserve? If they have arguments and beat each other up at parties, then what sort of country is it? As a result of the collapse in this sector, today our nation and its people have been sent on a path to extreme hardship. It is the Samruddhi beneficiary families living in the south that are most affected by this. When the entire foreign service has been placed in the hands of a person or officials who are uncivilized and has not even passed a single subject at the ordinary level, it is not surprising that the foreign service has collapsed in this way. We believe that this parliament and the people of this country should voice their opposition to this act of thuggery. Thereby, Honourable Deputy Speaker, the situation that has arisen is one which must be discussed and debated in more depth in this parliament.
Indian Defence Secretary R.K. Mathur called on President Mahinda Rajapaksa at the President's house in Kandy this morning. According to a media release issued by the Presidential Media Unit, the Indian Defence Secretary had stated during discussions that, quote, there are a whole lot of things we would also like to learn from Sri Lanka, unquote.
According to the media release issued by the Presidential Media Unit, President Rajapaksa and the Indian Defence Secretary had discussed a range of issues including the expansion of training between various military arms of the two countries. Indian Defence Secretary R.K. Mathur had noted that training experiences of Sri Lankan military officials in India have gone well, adding that there are a whole lot of things that India would also like to learn from Sri Lanka. The media release goes on to state that President Rajapaksa had spoken on the issues faced by the Sri Lankan fishermen, primarily from the north as a result of Indian bottom trawlers. Pointing out that fishing resources will be completely depleted for both Sri Lanka and India if bottom trawling practices continue, President Rajapaksa said that it will be the Tamil fishermen from Sri Lanka's north who will be the most affected. The release issued by the presidential media unit also noted that the President and the Indian Defence Secretary agreed that various defence-related dialogues that the two countries are engaged in would help further strengthen existing ties.
Speaking in Parliament yesterday, UNP parliamentarian Palitha Range Bandara commented on a number of issues, including the 18th Amendment to the Constitution.
When the people of Ratapaswala asked for water to drink, what did the government give them? Bullets. 2.5 years later, they decided to reduce the price of gas. Why? Because they know that a presidential election would be held in January and it would be difficult for them. However, it is difficult to hoodwink the people now. Don't we need the act that was brought in 2012? Since a request was made by Parliamentarian Nirupama, I will not speak about it, and instead I will address other issues. Honourable Minister, you heard her making a request, that is because she cannot speak about this. She does not agree with the destruction caused to the country and the law. That is why she made such a statement. The 18th Amendment to the Constitution was brought in to establish a dictatorship. It was brought in with the aim of retaining power for a long period. When this current Constitution was proposed in 1978, the Constitution was formulated by intelligent leaders. These intelligent leaders created the 168th clause of the Constitution, which specified the interim provisions. Today they are bringing in constitutional reforms from time to time using uneducated people and individuals who embezzle money and take commissions. The 18th Amendment to the Constitution does not specify that a sitting president who had been sworn in on 2 occasions is capable of contesting for another presidential term.
Minister Lakshman Yapa Abewardena expressed his views on upcoming elections at a media briefing held today.
At
a time when the government is gearing up for a national election in 2015, even before the election campaign has commenced, they have organized large-scale campaigns to say that President Mahinda Rajapaksa cannot contest for a third term. We would like to tell the public that we are not going to forcefully stay in our positions. So why are there posters being put up saying Mahinda can't? Are they trying to say that somebody else can try to compete in this election apart from Mahinda Rajapaksa? If these parties are strong, then why do they fear Mahinda Rajapaksa contesting?
එතකොට ජනාධිපති මැතිවරණයට මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ ජනාධිපති මැතිවරණයට එනවා නම් ඔය කියන පරාජයන්න පුළුවන් සත්‍යයක් තිරන විරුද්ධ පක්ෂයට ඇයි මේ මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂනට බය තියෙන්නේ?
Deputy Leader of the United National Party, Sajith Premadasa, made the following statement in Parliament today during the adjournment motion debate on the Divi Naguma department.
Talk is abound that a major presidential election is to be held. Why can't you give a straight answer?
Sri Lanka නිදහස් පක්ෂයේ මහලේකම්තුමා මෛත්‍රීපාල සිරිසේන ඇමතිතුමා ලිපියකින් දැනුම් දීලා තියෙන්නේ.
Why is it that the General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Minister Maitripala Sirisena, has written a letter asking that the presidential election not be held? As soon as he lost the Badulla electorate, Minister Nimal Siripala de Silva commenced an island-wide campaign to stop a presidential election from being held. Ministers D.W. Gunasekara, Thissa Vitarana and Vasudeva Nanyakar from the leftist parties, all three of them told the government, "Dear God, please do not hold a presidential election." If there is great satisfaction, then why have the General Secretary of your party and the Leader of the House told the President, "Dear God, please do not hold a presidential election"? What is your response? You have none.
මේ සභාවේ සභානායකතුමා කියන්නේ ජනාධිපතිතුමාට අනේ දෙයියනේ මැතිවරණයක් නම් තියන්න එපා ජනාධිපතිවරණයක්. මොකක්ද ඒකට උත්තරේ? උත්තර නැහැ. කට උත්තර නැහැ.
Also speaking in Parliament today, UNP Assistant Leader Ravi Karunanayaka expressed his views.
Under 13 sport has been prohibited.
Sport has not been prohibited. This target. Beg your pardon. UNP parliamentarian Rosie Senanayake raised a question in Parliament today on whether under 13 age group events had been removed from school sports tournaments.
Under 13 sport has been prohibited in some schools. What is the reason for this?
Sport has not been prohibited. This targets the aptitude for each age group.
Yesterday, organizers from an accepted political party held discussions with students in uniform and teachers at a political institution during school hours. This was in Colombo. Please hold a proper investigation and submit a report. She will appreciate that. If such a thing has happened, then it is extremely wrong. We will refer the Education Secretary to this matter.
දරුවන් දේශපාලන කටයුතු වලට යොදා ගැනීම සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම නවත්ත ගන්න. මේ පළවෙනි වතාව නෙමෙයි මේ 8 වෙනි වතාව.
This is not the first instance. This is the 8th time it has happened. It has been reported to the Ministry of Education. The Minister knows. I appreciate that the revelation has come from the government. Please employ a proper procedure and inform us. He must name who it is and from which party. Otherwise, it is unjust to all of us here.
සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහතා
මටත් දැනගන්න අවශ්‍ය මොකද්ද පක්ෂය කියලා.
ඔව් එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයේ කොළඹ සංවිධායක
SM Marika, who is the UNP Colombo organizer and the provincial councillor. I did not mention his name or the party because he is not a member of this Supreme House.
සමාජිකෙක් නෙවෙයි.
Now, UNP Western Provincial Councillor SM Marika offered this response regarding the statements made about him in Parliament today.
එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයේ සමාජිකත්වයේ තියෙන්නේ අවුරුදු 15න් ඉහළ අයට.
UNP membership is open to persons above 15 years of age. We hold political discussions from time to time at the party headquarters involving student groups and youth organizations. This is not new. Secondly, unlike government political parties, we do not go into schools and distort the minds of students. The UNP will never do that. In any country in the world, the views of students and the youth who are opposed to what is happening will come out. At a time when our country has become a port in Asia for bookies, casino owners, madams of brothels and thieves, and when the government is working against them, it is natural for students, university students and the youth to take to the streets to demand the dues that they are being deprived of. We suspect as to whether this is the government's purpose. They are trying to initiate a program to suppress and strike fear into the youth of this country so that they can continue with their own dictatorial politics.
තමන්ගේ දේශපාලනය පමණක් කළ හැකි තැනක් බවට පත් කරමින් තරුණ තරුණියන් ශිෂ්‍ය ශිෂ්‍යාවන් මර්ධනය කිරීමේ ව්‍යාපාරයකට තමයි මේ ඔවුන් අඩිය තියන්න හදන්නේ.
Speaking in Parliament today, UNP Assistant Leader Ravi Karunanayake expressed these views on Sri Lanka's foreign service.
මොනවද මේ රටේ තියෙන අද මනුෂ්‍යභාවය? මේ රටේ පිටරට නියෝජනය කරන තානාධිපතිවරුන්ට මොනවද කරන්න හදන්නේ? ඒ වගේම තමයි අද
What is the humanity of this country? What is being done to ambassadors who represent this country in foreign nations? The entire diplomatic community here has collapsed. It is said in the paper that one of our own MPs did it. Vas has asked Nonis whether he is Portuguese or Dutch, and then Nonis asked Vas whether he was Portuguese or Dutch, following which he was hit in the leg. Is this the state of the nation? Is this what is happening? People who protected the country abroad are being attacked in New York. What is Nonis saying? Yes, he was assaulted. Is this how you govern a country? Rajiv Vijayasinghe, who is one of our own MPs, has said this. Look at Dan Jayatilaka. How much service did he render to us in Geneva? While the Tigers were attacking our country, the Rajiv Vijayasinghes and Dan Jayatilakas fearlessly defended us, and we appreciate that service. What was the prize they were given? Come back to Colombo. Because if they had interfered there, the corruption of the would have been revealed. Come to Colombo. That is the prize that was given to Rajiv Vijayasinghe, Dan Jayatilakas and Kurunayagam. The same thing happened to Amunugama. We are all very proud of how Dr. Nonis faced the interview on CNN. Individuals like Vas here are afraid of Nonis. The foreign minister is GL Pires, but Sajin Vas is the acting minister. Since Nonis is better than Vas, he was brought back to Colombo.
Political analysts say that the continuous defeat of the United National Party commenced after the National Executive Committee was disenfranchised and the Working Committee, where the majority comprised of loyalists to the leader, was given limitless power.
The Constitution of the United National Party vests with the National Executive Committee with the power to devise party policies and programs and implement them. The powers of the National Executive Committee are only subjugated at the party convention. When the National Executive Committee was active, the UNP was able to come into power. Analysts say that since 1994, the current leadership of the party gradually disenfranchised the National Executive Committee. Since then, Ranil Wickremesinghe has not been able to become head of state on even one occasion. The body that was thus disenfranchised was one which comprised of public representatives who represented a sizable portion of the UNP's voter base. With the National Executive Committee being thus disenfranchised, the Working Committee was vested with limitless power, and persons appointed to the Working Committee were increasingly loyalists of the party leadership. Analysts point out that a majority of appointments to the Working Committee by the party leadership have been political retirees, corporate loyalists, public representatives defeated at elections and their kith and kin. While the door was closed to some public representatives who performed well at elections and even topped the list in their respective districts, positions in the Working Committee were freely granted to loyalists of the leader. Analysts point out further that at present a majority of the members of the Working Committee work to protect the leader and implement his ideas, and do not take decisions based on the ideas of party supporters which are necessary to steer the party to victory. Thereby it is no secret that the Working Committee led by the party leadership is responsible for the continued defeat of the UNP, which has been in government for close to 34 years. Who is responsible? More tomorrow.
Well, up next is Action TV.
On the 5th of September, Action TV carried an expose on the fate that has befallen the tourist hotspot, that is the Negombo Beach, as a result of the negligence of the Negombo Municipal Council. The clean-up operation launched by the Colombo Environmental Police Division the next day proved that unauthorized constructions on the beach have contributed to the waste problem. These unauthorized constructions have also driven foreign tourists away from some locations on the Negombo Beach. The Palangature area is among the worst affected. While fishermen have established unauthorized homes on the strips, unauthorized tourist hotels too have been built here. The Coast Conservation Department follows a double standard when enforcing the law against these two groups. While fishermen have been shackled to prevent them from constructing even toilets for these homes, swimming pools and other constructions at tourist hotels are being built on the beach, notwithstanding post-tsunami construction limitations.
They let them put up buildings and swimming pools. They let the bigwigs undertake major construction. Ordinary people like us are not allowed to do anything.
As a direct result of the large-scale unauthorized constructions, access paths to the beach used by those engaged in the fisheries industry have been closed off. All the fishermen use this road, but now it is closed and we cannot do our job. The problem surrounding unauthorized constructions in Palangature highlights not only the irresponsibility of the Coast Conservation Department, but also the lethargy of the Negombo Municipal Council. While certain constructions have exceeded the number of stories for which the council has granted approval, all that the Negombo Municipal Council has done is attempt to save face. Shouldn't coast conservation laws be enforced without regard to status before the beauty of the Negombo Beach is substituted for the congestion of urbanization plagued with unauthorized construction? Director General of Coast Conservation, over to you. A cabinet paper presented by the President to commence work on the Northern Expressway has been granted cabinet approval. Cabinet spokesman Kehelia Rambukwele stated that the expressway would be created expeditiously, adding that the entire project would be split up into 8 contract packages.
The new expressway will connect Enderamulla to Galewala. Construction work on the section between Pothuhara and Galewala will commence initially. Thereby, the new road will run through Enderamulla, Veyangoda, Mirigama, Nakalagamuwa, Alakoladeniya, Maddakatiya and Galewala. The cabinet spokesperson stated that an initial estimate of the project has been completed, adding that an evaluation of the environmental impact as well as the evaluation of the land that need to be reclaimed is currently underway.
On the 19th of this month, the construction of the expressway connecting Pothuhara and Rambukkana as well as Rambukkana and Galagedara will take place under the auspices of the President. I cannot tell you when we will finish the construction, but we are hoping to complete it as soon as possible. The distance of the expressway from Colombo to Galle was around 100 kilometers, 116 to be exact. It took a number of years. It might take a similar time period. That is why we are breaking it into 8 stages so we could finish this construction as soon as possible.
ඒ නිසා තමයි දැන් අද ඒ ප්‍රමාණයම තමයි කොළඹ නුවර. ඉතින් ඒක 8 දෙනෙකුට කඩලා දෙනවයි කියන්නේ ඒක ඊට වඩා හුඟක් ඉක්මනින් ඉවර වෙයි කියන බලාපොරොත්තුවත් එක්ක.
Welcome back. Speaking at a media briefing convened in Colombo today, Minister of Investment Promotion Lakshman Yapavewardena commented on several investment projects.
Shangila Hambantota අවසාන වෙයි අධිරේ තියෙන්නේ. Shangila කොළඹ
Shangri-La Hambantota is now in the final stage. All preparations have been made to open the Shangri-La Hotel in Colombo in the first quarter of 2017. I am also happy to note that Shangri-La will be obtaining another plot of land in the coming days to initiate phase 3 of the project. Their target is to build a floor each week and to complete the entire apartment complex in 52 weeks.
සති 52කින් සම්පූර්ණ apartment එක අවසන් කරන්න යුසු ඔවුන්ගේ සලස්මක් තියෙනවා.
දැන් අප්‍රේල් වල කතාවක් තිබ්බා බැක මේ ගැසිනෝ එකක් ඔපරේට් කරන්න දෙන්නේ නැත්නම් අයින් වෙනවා කියලා. ඊට පස්සේ අමතුමාට කිව්වා නෑ බැක එනවාමයි එහෙම කියලා කතාවක්. ඊටම ඉස් බෝඩ් ටිකක් ගලව. ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් එක වෙන තැනකට ගිහිල්ලාද නැත්නම් බැක ගිහලා
මන් දන්නේ බෝඩ් එක ගලවලා බලන්න. බෝඩ් ගහලා දෙනවා.
Let alone the boards being taken down, I did not even know that boards had been put up. What we did was to provide a plot of land for an investment project and then put up the matter to Parliament. If they do not comply with our laws and regulations, it does not matter who it is, it would be him or anyone else. We want them to comply with the laws of our country. It is the same whether they decide to invest here or not. That is not a problem.
අපි එතෙන්ට ගිහිල්ලා තිනවා ආයෝජනයට ආවොත් එහෙම නැවොත් එහෙම ඒක ප්‍රශ්නයක්.
There is no impetus to fight corruption.
Saying that there is an NGO mafia. What is your take on this?
Well,
do you all have petty games?
This development must come under scrutiny.
Recently I saw in Ukraine corrupt politicians into the trash. In Sri Lanka, how many politicians would we have to throw into the trash can?
Chief Minister of the Northern Province, C.V. Vigneshwaran, notes that the Northern Provincial Council has decided that it would be inappropriate for them to attend the District Committee meeting scheduled for Monday in a backdrop where the Tamil-speaking people are continuing to be marginalized. The Chief Minister expressed these views in a letter to President Mahinda Rajapaksa.
The letter by the Chief Minister of the Northern Province contains 13 points. The letter notes that since the district committee meeting, which is being held after a lapse of 2 years, was not discussed during the session of the Northern Provincial Council, an issue could arise. Quote, "We have been informed that on the 12th, Your Excellency is to hand over permits to lands in the Northern Province at Kilinochchi to almost 20,000 persons. I am further told over 400 bus loads have been arranged to bring people from far-off places to Kilinochchi. If they are coming to relieve the permits to be distributed by Your Excellency, it appears they have been kept for many months without being entrusted with their permits only to facilitate the creation of some political capital." Unquote. The letter also notes that the 2014-2016 investment plan, which is to be discussed during this meeting, has not addressed the basic needs of the poor in the north. Quote, "I emphasize the need to respect the democratic electoral mandate and the need to review the Mahinda Chintana in its application to the people of the Northern Province. As it had been rejected by the overwhelming majority of dozens of the Northern Province, Your Excellency very amiably undertook to do certain things beneficial to the smooth running of the NPC, which unfortunately did not materialize. The NPC was made to believe that the military governor would be replaced and kept waiting till only to be disappointed again. Government propaganda was employed to state that the NPC was the beneficiary of nearly 6 billion rupees for the year 2014 and only a small amount had been utilized by the NPC, when in fact the NPC was allocated only 1,875 million, while a sum of 3,955 million is being used directly by the central government." Unquote. The Chief Minister also notes in his letter that in this backdrop it is clear that the Northern Provincial Council is a powerless institute under the central government and urged the President to take concrete steps to build on the 13th Amendment Plus that was promised to India and the international community without delay.
China has topped America to become the biggest economy of the world with adjustments for cost of living, according to data from the International Monetary Fund for the first time in 142 years.
For the first time in 142 years, the industrial powerhouse of the United States of America has ceded the position of being the world's largest economy to its main rival from the Far East. Foreign media reports note that the US has been the global leader since it overtook Britain in 1872, but has now lost its status with the latest IMF figures showing the Chinese economy is worth $17.61 trillion compared to the $17.4 trillion for the US, adjusted for cost of living. China, whose wealth has accelerated in recent decades amid rapid industrialization, is expected to extend its lead, with the IMF estimating its economy will be worth just under $26.98 trillion in 2019. That would be 20% bigger than the US economy, which is forecast to be worth $22.3 trillion by then. China has a population of around 1.3 billion, 4 times that of the US, but its economy has only now become the biggest. That means Americans are typically far wealthier than their Chinese counterparts and better off than people in other emerging markets that benefit from huge workforces and more rapid growth.
In rural Sri Lanka, wild elephants are part and parcel of village life. The reports that we receive at the Newsfirst Centre involving wild elephants range from shocking tragedies to heartwarming tales, representing the restive human-elephant bond. Let's take a look at a few reports filed by our provincial correspondents.
A herd of wild elephants from the Wasgamua National Park encroached on the village of Balasgala in Aliyatawala, Mahyanganaya. Area residents say the pachyderms constantly encroach on the village due to the lack of a functional electric fence. Chasing the herd back into the national park was not an easy task. Following a major operation, villagers and officers from the Girandru Kote Wild Elephant Control Unit succeeded in chasing the beasts back into the forest. Villagers asked that swift steps be taken to build an electric fence. Another common incident involving wild elephants was reported from Mahava. An elephant had fallen into an agrarian well in Maninnagamua, Mahava, while its herd was being chased away after encroaching on a village. Although the police too had launched an operation from last night till this morning to rescue the pachyderm, these efforts did not bear fruit. However, the elephant did clamber out on its own accord a short while later. An elephant which fell into an agrarian well near the Kaipiche reservoir in Katukeliava in Minihintale was rescued this morning. The animal was rescued by wildlife officers from the Horopatan Elephant Conservation Centre.
Minister of Higher Education S.P. Dissanayake says that the country's university system has been rescued from extremist student groups. The minister made this statement at a workshop which commenced in Colombo today.
A workshop on innovations in higher education for knowledge-based economies and economic growth in the SARC region commenced in Colombo today. A distinguished gathering of educators and administrators from the education sector of SARC member nations are participating in this workshop, which concludes on Sunday, the 12th of October.
Till 2010, our universities were dominated by the extremist student group for a period of decade, and we managed to rescue those universities from them, and now universities are run by the vice chancellors, deans, HODs, as well as the professional administrators of the system. I think these changes were very crucial to make the university system right.
Making international headlines, Pakistani child education activist Malala Yousafzai and Indian child rights activist Kailash Satyarthi have won the Nobel Peace Prize in the year 2014. Chosen among 278 candidates, which includes 47 organizations, at age 17, Malala is the youngest recipient of the prize.
That's right. Now, this is incidentally the highest number of candidates the Norwegian Nobel Committee has ever received. The prize, worth about $1.1 million, will be presented in Oslo, Norway on the 10th of December, the anniversary of the death of Swedish industrialist Alfred Nobel, who founded the award in his 1895 will.
Nobel Peace Prize for 2014 is to be awarded to Kailash Satyarthi and Malala Yousafzai for their struggle against suppression of young people and children's right to education.
From the restive and impoverished town of Mingora to the splendor of the Oslo City Hall, 17-year-old Malala Yousafzai's journey has been far from a bed of roses. Yousafzai captured the international media spotlight for all the wrong reasons. She was shot in the head by the Taliban for campaigning for girls' education in 2012. She not only survived the attack, but recovered to the extent that she celebrated her 16th birthday, a passionate speech at the United Nations in New York, in which she appealed for compulsory free schooling for all children, following which she was tipped to win the Nobel Peace Prize last year.
Malala Day is not my day. Today is the day of every woman, every boy, and every girl who have raised their voice for their rights.
Her memoir, I Am Malala, stands a testament to the strength of the spirit of the child. A Washington Post review went so far as to say, quote, "It is difficult to imagine a chronicle of war more moving, apart from perhaps the diary of Anne Frank," unquote. While not as famous as her co-prize winner, the humble Kailash Satyarthi has devoted a lifetime of service to upholding the rights of the child. The Nobel Committee said 60-year-old Satyarthi has maintained the tradition of Mahatma Gandhi and headed peaceful protests, focusing on the grave exploitation of children for financial gain. A child devoted to the education of her peers. An elder whose sacrifice for children is immeasurable. Newsfirst congratulates both Malala and Kailash on their historic achievements.
Applications are now being accepted for the Sports First Mobitel Platinum Awards. If you haven't picked up your applications yet, you can do so from our promotional convoy that is making its way around the country. The convoy entered the Batticaloa area today.
The Sports First Mobitel Platinum Awards will recognize the unheralded and talented sportsmen and women of Sri Lanka who have showcased exceptional skill at the national and international level. Athletes who are interested can obtain application forms from our promotion vehicle. Nimal Nisha Benin Prakasha from Shivananda National School in Batticaloa were presented awards for their outstanding sportsmanship in amateur wrestling. For more details on the Sports First Mobitel Platinum Awards, call 0710 420 420.
Well, with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Primetime News. I'm Sonali Manikabadage.
And I'm Nadim Majid. Thank you very much for joining us. We leave you tonight with some of the key moments in global headlines that were captured by photographers across the globe. Good night and good night.